And my daughter just took one look at me and said, "If you don't stop drinking, Mom, I'm out." And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And that was my bottom. The consequence of having my daughter not in my life wasn't one I was willing to accept. Like I had accepted all of the hundreds of other consequences along the way.
Yeah. Welcome to Just Today, where our platform is a reminder that recovery isn't a solitary journey. It's a community of connections where our guests share their stories and the power of recovery. Just for today. Now to your host, Mike Schutte. So, welcome back to Just Today. I'm your host, Mike Schutte, and it's good to be back in the studio. And with me, I have Megan, who I've seen around, and I appreciated her jumping in here. We're going to talk a little bit about your story of recovery and kind of go from there. So welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you could join us. So Megan, tell me a little bit about your background. Where are you from? You live in this area. Tell us a little bit about your family and growing up and kind of go from there.
Sure. So I've been in the area here for a little over 30 years.
Okay.
I was born in California, spent a good bit of my life in California, and moved around subsequent to that with my folks. When I was young, we moved to Spain so that my folks could own a nightclub.
Okay.
So, they were bankers by trade and had an opportunity to move abroad to kind of follow a dream, I guess. And we did come back to the States a few years later. And, they went back to the banking industry. And I remember, lots of bankers coming over for parties. It was always seemed like I lived in a party atmosphere in those early years. From California, we moved to Panama for my mom's work.
Okay.
So I spent my high school years in the Republic of Panama, and that was pretty fabulous. It was a pretty cool culture to live there, and then back to the States for university.
Okay. So how long were you in Panama for? When did you move there?
5 years.
5 years? And that was all through high school?
That was high school
cool.
And my first year of college. I was in Panama as well.
Wow, that must have been like a culture shock to go there and to how was that, like getting introduced to that culture? And
it was a bit of a culture shock. I think the buffer there was while we lived in the city of Panama, I went to school in the Canal Zone, which was American, so there was that buffer.
Okay.
With all of the moves, there were lots of moves in California as well. All of the moves, it was always fitting in, trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And then by the time I fit in and felt comfortable, we were off to the next city.
Okay.
With one of my parents worked, whoever was getting the next promotion.
Well, that must you don't have any siblings, right? You only
No, I'm an only child.
Okay, so that must have been really hard too, because you're kind of doing all this by yourself, right? You don't have anybody tagging you along.
And my parents were pretty supportive.
Okay.
They did their best to help me feel confident, to build that confident level.
Sure.
I was pretty comfortable, I guess. I mean, at the time, I think I was pretty comfortable. In hindsight, I can see how I might have been pretty stressed throughout my whole life. I did what I was supposed to do. And that was to be, accepting of the moves and happy and to put myself out there and make new friends everywhere we went.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's difficult, like, trying to fit into those things. And we also have a tendency, I guess, to mold ourselves into that different culture. And is that when did you feel that way, or did you feel feel like, did drinking start at that particular time, or when
The
you were in
drinking
Penn?
started pretty early on.
Okay.
Having some sips of wine at dinner with my parents wasn't too unusual. And it was just very normal. Grew up with alcohol in the house.
Okay.
My dad liked to imbibe pretty well.
Okay.
So everything they did, alcohol was a part of. I mean, even in traveling, the traveling bar back in the day.
Yeah.
Those little cases that were designed specifically for bottles and whatever else you put in your drinks. It was just very normal.
Right.
So, drinking just was part of my life from as far back as I can remember.
Right. When was there, like, when you were in Panama, when you were adolescents, did you have any consequences of some of those things that were happening, or maybe like the first things that start setting off some red flags? I think we all kind of experienced some
For
of those
sure.
things. Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was active with track and field and cheerleading, volleyball, and one by one, those fell by the wayside, because of drinking. I think as a direct result, I got caught on school grounds drinking,
Okay.
and there was no tolerance for that. And, my folks didn't make a huge deal out of that. And I didn't think it was all that terrible either. I just kind of ho-hum, on to the next.
Yeah.
And it seemed, looking back, the consequences were left and right with drinking. But, nothing really hit me to the point of saying or acknowledging that this is because of my drinking. It was just because.
Right.
I didn't correlate the two at the time.
Yeah, I think that's difficult. I think that, everybody that I really talk to, there's these issues, these consequences that we all kind of have, and you kind of look back and, at the time, you kind of just move through it. But then the older you get, you realize that turned you in a different direction, right? It's like, oh, if, you know what I mean?
Right.
That was a pivotal point where, things started to move in a different direction for me, right?
Right.
And I think we all kind of experience some of those things.
I think so.
Yeah. So.
I was busy checking all the boxes that were laid out for me.
Okay.
Get the good grades,
Yeah.
go to college, continue with the good grades, get the career. Busy checking the boxes and not doing a lot of self-reflection,
Right.
in my, 20s for sure.
Okay. All right. And when did you start knowing that? I mean, even though you had some of those consequences when you were younger, when did you start stepping into as an adult? When did things start to move, a little bit more out of control, where you're like, this is really becoming an issue and problem in my life? Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it became apparent, I think, to those around me, and maybe I wasn't accepting at that point, but it was impacting my career.
Okay.
I loved the work I did, the company for which I worked, and I lost this one job as an indirect result of my drinking, and from that point on, drinking became kind of a round-the-clock thing for me. It was,
Okay.
I went from the one or two drinks after work to drinking daily.
Right.
And, I will never, I'll never pick up a drink in the morning, or,
Yeah.
I'll never drink while at work. All those nevers started coming into play for me.
Yeah.
And what's so crazy to me is that in those moments when I'm looking in the mirror saying, God, I really don't want to take this drink today, and taking it and still not having that awareness that it was a true problem.
Yeah.
it's mind-boggling to me today
Yeah.
that it just never crossed my mind
Yeah.
that this wasn't normal,
Yeah.
that maybe I shouldn't be doing this, even though I didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. We continue to cross those lines and cross those barriers, and I had the same thing. Like, I would never drink in the morning, right? But I would wake up in the morning sometimes after a a big night out. I'd feel so bad and so hungover and so terrible that I knew that I could, take a hit and I would be okay, and then I would be off and running again, But it's those constant things that, and I think we just struggle with those things, right? It's like, how did I get here? Like,
Yeah.
how did I, like, it's not all about self-will, because your disease and your addiction starts to take over. And, it's almost that necessity just to function and to live, and until, progressively it takes your life away.
Right.
And everything that you love around you is, I always say, addiction is, it pulls out the love away from you, right? It's a very deceitful thing. And one of the things so I want to go back a little bit. So when things started with the job and all those, how old were you when that was happening? Were you in your 30s, or when all this stuff was moving in that direction?
In my 40s.
Okay. All right.
It really, took off
Okay.
at that point.
Okay.
And, a subsequent job to the one that I really loved, I traveled a great bit.
Okay.
And, being on the road is just, it just becomes very easy
Yeah.
to drink as much as I wanted to drink, as there was no one with me, except when I was in the office. But
No one's watching you.
no one's watching me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It really did just take off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, physically, like, it starts to wear you down physically.
Yeah.
I think I was most cognizant of that. I wasn't truly aware of what it was doing to me, emotionally, mentally,
Okay.
spiritually. I didn't see that part of it, but certainly physical. It's very apparent.
Right.
It's very apparent when you're not well,
Right.
and that was happening.
Yeah.
And those close to me were noticing it and starting to get worried.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was still, holding down the job. I was still
Yeah.
there for my daughter. I was still checking the boxes,
Right.
as they say. So
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do talk a little bit about kind of the when was not the darkest days, or the moment that you said, I think you shared a little bit about this with me, and where you said, that's it. Like, I can't do this any longer to myself and the people around me. What was that? What was your moment?
yeah, I remember it vividly. I had gotten into a little trouble. I had driven down to Philadelphia Airport, and on my way, I had been drinking the whole time. And by the time I got to the Smart Park, I was in a complete blackout, and the attendants there called the police, and I was arrested. And so I came to in a jail cell down there, and once I was sobered up, they said, okay, you can be on your way now. And I was astounded by that. But here, I didn't know where I was or how I was going to get home. And I managed to get a car to come, car service to pick me up and bring me home. And when I walked into the house, my daughter was there with her best friend, and her dad and his girlfriend at the time. And my daughter just took one look at me and said, if you don't stop drinking, Mom, I'm out. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And that was my bottom. the consequence of having my daughter not in my life wasn't one I was willing to accept. Like I had accepted all of the hundreds of other consequences along the way.
Yeah.
And, the next day, I went to my second AA meeting because I had gone to an AA meeting years before, and I sat down and I just couldn't identify with anyone or anything that was being said. So this time I walked into the meeting and with an open mind and a broken heart, and so defeated, so depleted, that the willingness finally came
Yeah.
to try and embrace something different,
Yeah.
to not rely on something that was absolutely killing me.
Yeah.
And that was the darkest time
Yeah. Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was just chatting with somebody. We all have that moment where it's enough, right? And very similar to me. I went to AA when I got out of my first rehab, and I was like, there just wasn't a willingness any longer, and until I hit my end of my consequences, where I said, okay, and I gotta fully be in this now, because doing it my own way anymore was just never going to work. And I share this, I share a lot about, AA or any other recovery 12-step programs that we have, that it's the community that I really, really like these days and really love that community. And it took me a long time to try to figure out, I'm like, these people just want to help me. They're not here to take something from me. They're helping me, guiding me, and that became my tribe, Yeah. So, yeah. So did the individuals that I talk to, in recovery, there's a lot of similarities that we all experience, which we hear in many of AA meetings. It's, you always hear that cliche, I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin, and there's this anxiety, or I just didn't feel a part of. For me, I suffered with comparison in my life. I always compared my life, to something that I didn't have, and that was something that I uncovered in recovery and sobriety and all these other things. And there's also this deep sensitivity that we all have, I think, in that somebody that struggles with substance use disorders, that probably goes unsaid at times, is that this sensitivity that we all feel. Did you feel that way when you were struggling with some of the things? Did you have any of those kind of characteristics where you just felt a little bit out of place?
Yeah, I think wanting to fit in and be part of,
Yeah.
moving so much.
Yeah.
It was almost like that was a mandate for me,
Right.
to just keep reacclimating to new situations, new schools, new groups of friends, and being an only child, and moving not near family.
Right.
I always wanted to be part of. And when you talk about, the AA community, I'm part of. I was welcomed and embraced and tolerated, You come in, you're a complete mess,
Yeah.
And these people with these kind hearts and tolerant minds and compassionate arms, it's just amazing what I've been given in this program. I am part of, and by the grace of God, I'm still part of all of the lives of friends and family that I had before coming in, by the grace of God, those people that were nearest and dearest to me are still actively involved in my life, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Yeah.
So it's funny, finally feel part of,
Right.
at this point in life.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable, and I'm comfortable being content,
Yeah.
always striving for something.
Yeah.
And today being content is good enough.
Yeah.
I remember when I started feeling content, talking about it in meetings. Like, I have this feeling. I'm not sure what this is.
Right.
I'm not sure if I like it. And lo and behold, it was me easing into this notion of just being content. And it's a good thing now, just being content.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm not still motivated, that I'm not still putting effort into my life. But I'm just content.
Right. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
heck
Yeah.
of a lot more calm than the nut that came
Swirling
in.
around a lot of craziness
right?
in our minds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that pops up,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that crazy still comes up, and that's when I pick up the phone and reach out, or
Yeah.
go to a meeting.
Yeah.
I know what to do because alcoholism it's a disease, it's an allergy, it's whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's there, and it's alive and well inside of me, and
Yeah.
I can't get complacent.
Yeah. Yeah,
with
that's
my
the, yeah. I
program.
mean, that's the thing about going to meetings, and I remember I used to I would be like I'm not going. Now it's like I really enjoy going there.
Yeah.
And connecting with some other individuals, and that took me a long time. I mean, it just took me a long time because I think I always tell people I thought I was just more intelligent. Like I was like, oh, I can do this by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the history of that wasn't very good. So, once I kind of surrendered and decided to do the work and the willingness to it, things, it's amazing when you start working, things actually start to change a little bit in your life,
Yeah.
But, so how do you, you talked a little bit about your recovery there, and are you involved in when working with other women? And obviously kind of like the 12-step is really about keeping it, we got to give it away. Tell me a little bit about how you work that and balance that in your life,
Sure. First and foremost is my program. And
Okay.
those in my life know that comes first.
Right.
And I do work with other women. And it's mutually beneficial. We help each other.
Yeah.
I have a network of friends in the program.
Right.
I'm in service in my home group. I currently serving as the GSR.
Okay.
I sit on a board for a clubhouse at Malvern.
Okay.
Anytime I'm asked to be of service, I try and say yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm pretty active in the community,
Yeah.
and my schedule's full.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
I have friends that joke like, "Hey, when can we get on the schedule? To get together?" And it's like,
Yeah.
"Well, of course you can get on the schedule."
Yeah.
Let's-
Yeah. I remember seeing you in that coffee shop down with a meeting where, and
Yeah.
I would see you, and there was a woman there, and I'm like, I'd see the big blue book in there, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, one of us.
Yeah,
One of us.
absolutely.
How's your relationship with your daughter today? How's that? How is that?
It's pretty fabulous.
Is it? That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
She's an amazing young woman, young mom.
Okay.
She's terrific, and she's about 10 minutes away from me
Oh, okay.
with my son-in-law, grandson,
Okay.
and another grandson on the way. So
That's cool.
being Gigi is a really cool role too.
Right, yeah.
now, just
Yeah,
another blessing of being sober. Because I can tell you, if I was still drinking, I wouldn't be in his life at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah. Very, very grateful.
Yeah.
To be there. I mean, that's the same thing with I have an 18-year-old daughter, as I think I shared with you,
Yeah.
and it's nice when she calls and needs something. It's usually money, but it's like, it's just nice.
And you're there.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have to escape it, and I'm around, that she knows that I'm going to be there, so it's very, very cool. Very, very grateful for the power of recovery, for sure. So kind of my last question for you, if someone's kind of struggling right now, what would you suggest? What would be your advice for somebody that's kind of on that balance beam right now?
I'd say try a program. Just try it. Have an open mind. And I'd say also try and focus on what you could gain with a clear head
Right.
and in a sober life, instead of what you think you're going to lose.
Yeah.
I often hear how people come in to AA and wonder how they're ever going to have fun again without a drink, how they're ever going to live their life again without a drink. And if you can kind of spin that and take that away and really look, like, how much fun were you really having at the end of your drinking?
Yeah.
And, that perception is a lie.
Yeah.
It was for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't really fun,
Yeah.
sitting alone drinking.
Yeah.
That wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And so thinking about what you could get, a reestablished relationship, living into your potential, connecting with a community of people that at the drop of a hat would be there to help you
Right.
in any given moment with anything,
Yeah.
and then to have that spiritual growth that I've gotten in this program
Right.
is amazing. I'm connected on a daily basis with my higher power.
Right.
I grew up in the Catholic Church and moved away from it because it just didn't fit into the notion of a religious gathering. But being connected with God in my own way
Yeah.
on a daily basis works for me.
Right.
I wouldn't have any of that if I were still drinking.
Yeah.
So, obviously it's a lot easier in hindsight to tell you all the good that has come into my life. But when you're in the thick of it, and you're trying to figure out how to get out of it, all you can focus on is what you're not going to have.
Yeah.
And so if you can just change that paradigm, even just a little bit,
Yeah.
to at least want to see the good that can come.
Yeah. That's a great message. That's that's a really good message about, because I do talk to men mostly about that. Like, they're always like, how am I going to have fun again? I'm like, you and I were talking about the whole thing with society and, how that we're bombarded with booze in our lives, and, advertisements, and we're bombarded when we're very young, and,
Right.
and everything's like this sexiness about drinking, and really that's really not what happens, right? It's not. You're all not sitting on a beach having a drink and everything's cool. Usually doesn't work out that way.
No. There's nothing sexy about a hangover and feeling awful
Yeah, yeah.
or doing stupid things
Yeah.
under the influence. There's nothing sexy about that.
No.
Nothing fun about that.
No.
No.
But well, I really appreciate you coming in today and sharing your story with us. It's really nice to hear. Appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Always good to see you.
Thank you. If you would like a little bit more information about our podcast and what we're trying to do, please subscribe. You can always connect with us at justtoday.org, or you can learn a little bit more about us by buy us a cup of coffee, and you can learn a little bit more about our story. We appreciate it. Thanks.